All right, everyone. This is going to be the first few questions, just like I did for the previous exam. I'm going to break this down into a couple of different pieces, a total of 5 different pieces. This is just 1 second. Gen Chem 1, exam 2.1. This is our new stuff. This is our first effort at this new stuff. And this is questions number 26 through 50. So the first question reads, when you see AQ by a reactant or product in a chemical reaction, that suggests this substance is A, a solid, B, aqueous, C, water, or D, aqua blue. Now, the only two options on here that have a symbol associated with them is a solid and an aqueous substance. AQ is what is designated for aqueous, and S in parentheses is for a solid. Okay, the next question reads, which substance has the greatest number of oxygen atoms? So what we're looking for is here, we have these different compounds or formula units, and we're just asked how many oxygens are in there. C5H10O, there's 1 oxygen. H2O, there's 1 oxygen. FeOH3, well, we've got a 3 in the parentheses, and so that applies to everything that is within the parentheses. So that means there's 3 oxygens for FeOH. H2SO5, there's 5 oxygens there. And then last but not least is NiNO3, or nickel nitrate. That 2 applies for everything inside of the parentheses. So that means that we've got a total of 6 oxygens because there's 2 NO3s. So B is our correct answer there. Next up is MnClO3. And this is manganese chlorate. In order to answer this question, you have to have the periodic table before you. So I'm going to go ahead and share the periodic table. Mn is 59 or 54.938. So I'll plug that into my calculator. And then I'm going to add to that, well, ClO3, 2. So that means there's 2 CLs. Cl is 35.45. So I'll say 35.45 plus 35.45 because I'm adding it twice. And then O, or oxygen, there's a total of 6 of them. And oxygen is 15.999, or you can round it up to 16. 6 times 16 is 96. And ultimately for this question, what you end up getting, number 28, is you get B, 221.838. Okay, the next question reads, the combustion of ethane, C2H6, in the presence of O2 produces carbon dioxide and water. The balanced chemical reaction is shown below. We have 2 moles of C2H6 reacts with 7 moles of O2 to produce 4 moles of CO2 and 6 moles of H2O. Okay, there's our balanced chemical reaction. Now the question is, how many moles of CO2 are produced when 5.75 moles of ethane are burned in excess of oxygen? Okay, now this is asking about molar ratios. And it provides us with this very important piece of information right here, excess oxygen. So what that means is we really don't care that there's a 7 coefficient in front of the O2. What we only care about is, I'm going to highlight it in green, the C2H6 and the CO2. We can set up a dimensional analysis look at this and say, just a second, my tablet out. I can set up the dimensional analysis to say my input was 5.75 moles of C2H6. Now I have a relationship between C2H6 and CO2. So I'm going to say 2 moles of C2H6 is equivalent to 4 moles of CO2. So I'd multiply 5.75 times 4 and divide that by 2. And what I would end up with is 11.5. So the correct answer for question number 29 is C, 11.5. Now I'm going to continue on. This question reads, what is the oxidation state of oxygen in the neutral compound MnCrO4? Okay. So I gave it some thought, and this question isn't really a fair question. So I'm going to give everyone credit for question number 30. And it's not a fair question because I didn't have the expectation that you know the charge of CrO4. But in order to solve this question, what you need to know is you would need to know that CrO4 has a charge of -2. And if this has a charge of -2 and you've got two of them, well, that means Mn is +4. But that's not really the question that's being asked. The question that's being asked is, well, if CrO4 equals -2, so if that's our charge there, then I'm going to say the charge of Cr, which is blank, plus 4 times our charge of oxygen, which is generally going to be -2, is going to equal -2. So this is one that just by knowing oxygen's common oxidation state of -2, you'd be able to solve this problem. But this wasn't really a fair question for me to ask, so that's why I'm not gonna count against anyone for this question. So the correct answer, though, is E. And well, it's kind of like video game ratings. This is E for everyone gets credit on this question. Okay, whether you mark something or not. Okay, now I need to switch away from that to this. Okay, there we go. But just for future notice, there you go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. And in the next video, I'll go over the next group.